And welcome, everyone, to our Bleacher Report reaction to the preseason AP Top 25 poll and my debut of the Power 37. Yes, we are no longer the Power 36 because with the Pac-12 being dissolved, there are now actually 37, not 36, at-large berths for the 2025 NCAA tournament. All right, so let's get right into this preseason AP Top 25 poll. As you know, the season will begin on November 4th, so just a few weeks from now. And the Final Four this year is in San Antonio. So we've got the road beginning on November 4th. And Kansas, once again, has been tabbed as the number one team in the country. What we're going to do here is I'm going to go through these, just giving you a little bit of something, and then we're going to look at where I had teams in the Power 37, and then we're going to take your questions. So Kansas, loaded up. They had a disappointing and injury-riddled end to last season. They were fortunate in this era of movement to get DeJuan Harris back, KJ Adams, and, of course, Hunter Dickinson, a first-team All-American. They went in the portal, and AJ Storr, who led Wisconsin last season to the NCAA tournament, Zeke Mayo. They have added significant pieces. Rylan Griffin from Alabama. They've got big-time pieces that will help them potentially challenge for another national championship come late March, early April. So Kansas won, no surprise. At 2, Alabama. You will see that I had Alabama 1. Alabama returns a tremendous core from its Final Four run. That includes Mark Sears, first-team All-American. He could be the potential SEC Player of the Year. Grant Nelson, transfer last year from North Dakota State. He decides to withdraw from the NBA draft and come back. And there's no question that Nelson could be, a potential All-American in some form or fashion, All-SEC. And then they picked up arguably one of the highest profile rim protectors, shot blockers in the portal in Cliff Omori. So Omori comes from Rutgers. So you got a front line that's going to be pretty daunting at Alabama. UConn checking in at 3, trying to pull off a three-peat. This has not been done since the era of John Wooden. Dan Hurley flirts with the Lakers, comes back to UConn. Alex Caravan, he withdraws from the NBA draft. He will be the anchor of this team. But they did very well in the portal as well. Aiden Mahaney, he's a point guard. He'll replace Newton as their lead guard. Did a great job at St. Mary's. Terrace Reed from Michigan comes over. And then they got Liam McNeely, one of the best freshmen in the country. He originally was committed to Indiana. He ends up at UConn. So there's no question that the Huskies are in the thick of potentially being a national champion. Houston, again, Kelvin Sampson has a roster that, mirrors his image. It's tough. They can defend. LJ Cryer, now, second year back there, gives them some shooting. Juwan Roberts will be a big-time player for them up front. He's a potential All-American, was a preseason All-American by Blue Ribbon. So right off the bat, you've got Kansas, Big 12, Houston, Big 12, and then you see Iowa State, Big 12. Tamin Lipsey is maybe one of the best defenders in the country. Milan Milanovic, big-time shooter. He's going to really blossom for Iowa State. This team, like TJ Otzelberger, they'll defend, they're going to be unselfish, and they're going to be in the thick of this Big 12 race. Now you go to Gonzaga. Gonzaga at 6. The Zags return Graham Ike, Ryan Nembhard. They picked up Khalif Battle, who they think will be a significant contributor from Temple. And so the Zags have pieces that I think you can make a strong argument they will be in the thick of the chase, again, for a Final Four berth. Duke at 7, Cooper Flagg. He's not alone, though. They've got an incredible freshman class, but Flagg, arguably the number 1 draft pick in 25, the only college player that was on the select team against the Olympic team this summer. But the backcourt with Tyrese Proctor and Caleb Foster, experienced. So they got an experienced backcourt, and up front will be newer, but so much talent in the 3, 4, 5 positions. Baylor at 8, TJ Edgecombe is going to be a big-time freshman. They've got experience returning. It's a team that certainly looks like Scott Drew's teams from the past. So what we're seeing already here is a group of Big 12 teams, and we're not done with the Big 12 teams at all, that, are going to make this Big 12 race one of the best in the country. And there are multiple players that I really should mention about Baylor because they did a great job in the portal as well. Jeremy Roach from Duke, great experience. Norshad Omier from Miami, Final Four experience. Langston Love returns. He's finally, the healthiest he's been. So there is a lot of talent right off the bat that is going to allow Baylor to compete for a potential national championship. North Carolina checking in at 9. RJ Davis returns, ACC Player of the Year. Elliot Cadeau, is going to be a big-time talent as a sophomore now for North Carolina. North Carolina also, did well in, as they always do, in recruiting freshmen. Ian Jackson and Drake Powell. Those are 2 names that, you're definitely going to need to remember. They're high on Jalen Washington, but Jackson and Powell are going to have a pretty big impact on this Carolina roster. Arizona checking in at number 10 to complete the top 10. And Arizona has Caleb Love back. I mean, Pac-12 Player of the Year. He played with RJ Davis when they went to the Final Four. So he leaves Carolina, goes to Arizona. He returns. Jaden Bradley back. Trey Townsend's a big-time pickup for them. There's no question that this Arizona roster, I think you will see it continue to develop. It's not as polished as it was a year ago. They're in a new league in the Big 12, so they're going up a weight class, if you will. But again, look at that. In the Big 12, you've got Kansas at 1, Houston at 4, Iowa State at 5, Baylor at 8, Arizona at 10. Then we go to Auburn at 11. By the way, Aiden Holloway, also I should mention, at Alabama, came from Auburn. Look, at Auburn, Janai Broom obviously is the big name. He's a potential All-American. But J.P. Peegs, transfer from Furman, he is a big-time talent scorer. I think he's going to have a huge impact for Auburn. They're going to get up and down. They're going to defend. And Broom's going to lead them. I mean, it's that simple. He's going to be, their anchor. Tennessee, led by Zakai Ziegler, he has returned. And the Volunteers are going to be in the thick of the SEC race again. Jemai Mashak will be one of the best defenders. Actually, they got on-the-ball defense, perimeter defense, and they picked up a hidden gem, I think. Really is not scratched his potential yet in Felix Akpara from Ohio State. Really good rim protector. He's going to be a huge addition for Tennessee. At 13, you've got Texas A&M. They're leaning heavily on the experience and return of Wade Taylor IV. C.J. Wilcher comes over from Nebraska. Henry Coleman III. They've got pieces that Buzz Williams will put together. They'll defend, hard to score against, and they'll be a factor in the SEC. We're sort of in this, SEC grouping here. Purdue. I think Purdue is a little low, you'll see, in comparison. At 14, returning. Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, maybe the best backcourt, certainly in the Midwest. Cam Heide and Miles Colvin will fill in off the bench. One of them may start, and they're going to be outstanding. And then Trey Kaufman-Renn, he's going to elevate his game now that he's going to get more touches without Zach Edey. Daniel Jacobson, keep an eye on him. Freshman 7-footer will once again be sort of the next great big for Purdue. At Creighton, they're returning an All-American in Ryan Kalkbrenner, rim protector, score around the basket, could be the Big East Player of the Year. Stephen Ashworth, back for his second year. Keep an eye on him, elevating his game. Came from Utah State. There's no question that he's going to have a major impact for the Blue Jays in year 2 with Greg McDermott. Then we go to Arkansas. John Calipari completely upgrades this roster. Obviously, it was a down year last year for Eric Musselman. They had injuries, they had a lot of problems. But I think Arkansas is a little too low here. I think they're going to challenge the SEC title. You've got Janelle Davis from FAU. DeJuan Wagner and Ivizovic from Kentucky. They come over. Jonas Adu from Tennessee. And, he's going to be a big-time impact coming over. Expect Carter Knox and Trevon Brazil to be guys that are going to, impact the games throughout the course of the season. So Arkansas, coming over from Kentucky, they're going to be in the mix. Indiana, I'm a little surprised they're at 17. I would have had them a little higher. You'll see. But Mackenzie Mbako, Malik Renew, Trey Galloway, that's your big 3 for Indiana. Right off the bat, all 3 of those guys, potentially all Big Ten players. Really like their roster. Marquette, led by Cam Jones. Cam Jones could end up being Big East Player of the Year. And no Tyler Kolek, and that's okay. He had a great run there. But this team, can survive that because with Cam Jones and Stevie Mitchell, they've got a backcourt that can handle the loss of Kolek and be fine. Sean Jones is back. Expect Ben Gold to be a little bit more of a factor. I think you're going to see him making shots. And it's interesting. Marquette doesn't lose guys in transfers, and they don't add them. Homegrown talent, and it works for them. It's been very successful for Shaka Smart. Texas checking in at 19. I think it's a little high for the Longhorns. But Arthur Kaluma comes over from Creighton. Trey Johnson's going to have an impact. Tremont Mack obviously is the big pickup from Arkansas. So this is going to be a team that's just going to keep getting better and better. But again, this is now an SEC team. So we're seeing a very Big 12 SEC loaded top 25 here in the preseason. Here's another Big 12 team, newer into the Big 12 is Cincinnati. Wes Miller needed time. He was given time. And now he's ready without question for their program to be in the NCAA tournament with Dylan Mitchell coming over from Texas. CJ Frederick, hopefully he's healthy. He's bounced around. The sleeper pick of a guy that, I think you're going to hear a lot of. And I hope I don't butcher his name here. Don't want to butcher the name. See if I can get it phonetically. Where are we here? Yeah, Aziz Bonduago. 7-footer. Originally was at Utah Valley. He's going to be one of the best rim protectors, shot blockers in the Big 12. So keep an eye out for him going forward. So they're in at 20. At 21, here's a Florida team that, again, returns significant parts of its roster that I think will allow Todd Golden in the SEC with Walter Clayton Jr., Will Richard. Those are 2 scorers right off the bat. Elijah Martin comes over from FAU. He's going to be dunking the ball all over the place. Olivier Roux is going to be, someone you're going to have to see because he's 7, what are we saying, 7'9", What do they listed him at? Let's see what they listed him at 7'9". It's the tallest player in college basketball. So you're going to at least need to check him out. UCLA checks in at 22. Sky Clark transfer. He's bounced around. Dylan Andrews is back. Kobe Johnson transfers from USC. This is a team that is sort of remade for Mick Cronin. They're going to defend. They'll score better this season. Kentucky with Lamont Butler coming up from San Diego State. Kirk Risa from West Virginia, who was originally at Arizona. And get you the third guard that I want to mention here. Third one I wanted to mention. Well, Jackson Robinson. He's a combo. He's a big-time scorer coming from BYU. He's going to have a major impact. Mari Williams will have a major impact. Andrew Carr coming from Wake Forest will have a major impact. This is a team that's, I think, ready for prime time immediately. So, again, SEC heavy here. Another one, Ole Miss, Matt Morrell. That's the name to remember. Chris Beard's got his team that's going to be right in the thick of the SEC. And at 25, Rutgers. This is heavy on the freshmen. Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper. Two of the top 3 picks likely in 2025 with Cooper Flagg. They will be appointment TV throughout the course of the season. But they can't do it by themselves. That means Jamaica Davis has to be a major contributor as well as Jeremiah Williams. Those two guys, and I'm going to get a chance to see them Thursday night against St. John's, an exhibition game. They're going to have to raise their game up and match Harper and Bailey in terms of importance for this team to reach its potential, if it's all going to happen. So let's take a look, before we get to your questions, at my Power 37. We're going to start at the top here, and you'll see. So I flipped Alabama and Kansas. I get Gonzaga 3, UConn 4, Duke 5, Houston 6, then Iowa State, Baylor, and Carolina. So we have the same top 9, me and all the AP top 25 voters, just in tweaking a little the order. So we're on the same page. Now here's where it gets a little interesting. I got Arizona lower because they are rebuilding, retooling. But I have Purdue, Indiana, Tennessee. A lot of experience on those 3 teams. Let's go to the next page, and you'll see I've got Arkansas, Kentucky, Auburn, Creighton. All right. Then Arizona. Now I have Illinois. Colin Boswell coming over from Arizona. Illinois not in the top 25. I have UCLA and Florida around the same ballpark. Oregon not in there. Jackson Shelstead will be one of the best point guards in the country. TJ Bamba transfer from Washington State, Villanova back to Oregon. I mean back to the West Coast. I think Oregon's going to be there. A&M a little further down. Cincinnati in the poll. Texas Tech, JT Toppin. He's there, and so is Elijah Harris. Toppin from New Mexico, Harris from Minnesota. And then at 25, Rutgers. All right, so we agree on Rutgers. Then I got Clemson after their Elite 8 run. Texas, I dropped just a little. Ohio State with Bruce Thornton, Moochie Johnson. They're not there. Xavier and Marquette. I think that's kind of the way it's going to be picked in the Big East poll. Wake Forest, Hunter Salas. I mean, they're not in the top 20. That's fine. Michigan State with Jaden Akins and their exceptional sophomore class, all back. Cone, Booker, and Fears. Obviously, I'm not as high on Ole Miss yet. So I have them at 33 versus 24. Mississippi State, Josh Hubbard, I got them in there. St. John's, Kadari Richmond transfer from Seton Hall, and Rick Pitino. Providence, that is hinging a lot on Bryce Hopkins being healthy. I saw them last week. He will be. He's just not there yet. And K-State. Coleman Hawkins, transfer from Illinois, I think puts them right there. Now, my under consideration, if we can just pop that real quick, you'll see I got Virginia, Syracuse, Boise, Pitt, Georgia Tech, NC State, Louisville, Memphis, and UAB. UAB was picked to win the American with Memphis right behind. New Mexico, Donovan Dent. And then a slew of A10 teams. Someone will be in the top 25 at some point. VCU, Dayton, SLU. That's St. Louis, Robbie Avila, coming from Indiana State. Maryland, Wisconsin, and Northwestern out of the Big Ten, and San Diego State as well out of the Mountain West. You're going to see Boise State, New Mexico, San Diego State. That's going to be the top three in the Mountain West Conference this year. They're not going to get as many as they've gotten in recent past, but the A-10 and the Mountain West will be represented at some point in this poll. We will see a little American at some point. And then this is going to be a rotation of the Big Ten teams, the Big 12 teams, the ACC teams, and the SEC teams over the course of the season. All right, so let's take some questions here. Illinois and BYU snubbed. Yeah, I'm not feeling BYU right now. I agree with Illinois. BYU needs some work. And by the way, there's a slew of Big 12 teams. They got some work to do, but where we decide where they're going to be picked. Rutgers should be higher. I would say no, because we got to wait and see how this all plays out. It can't just be the two freshmen. Why did UConn miss out on number one? Because they lost Donovan Clingan to the NBA, Stefan Castle to the NBA, and Cam graduated. Okay. Cam Spencer, excuse me. So that's three huge pieces. That's why they were not ranked number one. Strongest conference this year. It's going to be the Big 12 of the SEC. It's going to be the Big 12 of the SEC. For SEC champ, Alabama. Does Kentucky beat Duke in November? I'm going to lean Duke just for experience early on. But I think both teams are going to get better and better. Both have a high ceiling. Is Duke too inexperienced and is it too tough a schedule? So that's a good question. Let's look at Duke's schedule right now. Okay. So the Kentucky game is neutral in Atlanta. Toss-up. At Arizona, it's going to be a hard game to win. Arizona did win there last year in Durham. That's a hard road game for them. Auburn at home, I like Duke in that situation. And then other non-conference games. Am I missing one? I feel like I'm missing one. Oh, Kansas. Yeah, the single game against Kansas. So that game's in Vegas. I would say Kansas, Arizona, and Kentucky. I'm going to say I kind of feel like, they may go 1-2, and that's okay. They can beat Arizona. So they're not going 3-0. Let's just say that. How will the Mountain West perform this year? I think at most they're getting 3. At most. They could be 2 this year. Look, Calipari cared about winning. But yes, it wasn't always great when he would say, like, their best day was, for the NBA draft. I think that rubbed people the wrong way when you're not winning championships. But his record there is going to be hard to match. The amount of times they went to the Final Four, yes, won a championship, Elite Eights, and so on. Purdue's weapons this year, Braden Smith will be one. Fletcher Loyer is going to be another. I think Trey Coffman-Wren's going to have a great year, and Cam Heide, watch out for him. Who wins Carolina-Bama? I'm going to lean Bama. Kansas State does have a high ceiling this year. Bama's first loss might be against Purdue early in Indianapolis. Is Arkansas overrated? No. Let's wait and see how it plays out. Ohio State plays in March in the NCAA tournament. Syracuse, I had them as my under consideration. Chris Bell, I think, is going to have a huge year for Red Autry. Michigan State right now belongs in the back part of my 37. They're in that second tier in the Big Ten. Who has the toughest schedule? Oh, wow. I mean, Alabama's got a brutal schedule. Kansas, Duke, they all have a hard schedule, which is good. Thoughts on Oklahoma? So This can be hard in the SEC for Porter Moser this year. I do think that Goodine could have a good year. Glenn Taylor. The question is, do they have a first team all SEC player? I don't think so. I think Jeremiah Fears will be one of the better freshmen. Do they have a first team SEC guy? Probably not. They got a good team. They'll win some games. They're going to have a hard time, I think, being anything more than on the bubble. Let's see what else we got. Oh, you're asking for top 5 big men and backcourts. We're going to have those those graphics, and we have put them out. But I mean, just right off the bat, I'll just tell you, Iowa State's backcourt, Carolina's backcourt, Arizona's backcourt, Purdue's backcourt, Marquette's backcourt, Kansas's backcourt, Alabama, if I didn't say that, Houston. They're all, I'm going to have to put them in order. This is off the top of my head. Bigs, Alabama's going to have a really good front line. Gonzaga, Duke, Auburn, Creighton, Indiana, all going to have really good front lines. We'll put them in order. Duke is legit, and they are Final Four contender. I'm going to get a chance to see Duke's size this weekend at the exhibition. I don't know if Porter, how hot that seat is. It's way too early to say that. Indiana, Purdue, it's going to be a great year for that. 2 years ago, Indiana swept, and Purdue swept. I think we're looking at a split year between Indiana and Purdue. Big East, it's going to be UConn, Creighton, 1-2, and then some combination of Xavier, Providence, Marquette, St. John's. That's your second 5. Bama's best player this year is going to be Mark Sears. How far can Rutgers go? As good as I think their supporting cast. Their freshmen, I think, will live up to the hype. But that's the deal. Thoughts on Villanova? It's a critical year for Cal Neptune. No, they're going to have to break through. You didn't hear me rattle them off. I know that. Wooga Poplar from Miami. Is he going to have a breakthrough year? Eric Dixon. He's going to have to be the guy inside. He's just going to have to dominate and score significantly and raise his game. I think him and Poplar are got to be a 1-2 combination. If that can happen, they can get into that second tier, in the Big East. Let's take, Baylor. If I didn't say it, they're going to be one of the best backcourts. Top 3 in the Big 12. I don't disagree with the polling where we've got Kansas, Houston, and Iowa State in some order. I think that's a fair assessment of the top 3 in the Big 12. Illinois is got pretty much almost a whole new roster, except for Ty Rodgers. So just be patient with them. And then the last questions, so we got 2 last ones. So one is on Iowa State. I just want to look at the roster while we're talking here. I would say that Gilbert, Lipsy, and Jefferson and Momcilovic, they didn't need to add anything because they've got the core back. So they're fine. And then the last question was on Gonzaga's depth. I think they're okay. Because I didn't mention at the top, Michael Ajayi from Pepperdine, big-time scorer. Braden Huff's going to have a really good year. It's unfortunate Steel Vendors got hurt again. I said battle. Hickman, Stromer. They've got enough. They got enough. They're going to be fine in terms of depth. They can sustain injuries, but Nemhard, Ajayi, you're going to hear a lot from these guys. Stromer, Hickman's, he's a senior. Huff, I said, and Battle. They really like what he's going to bring them. Did I say Temple? I meant, I think I said that at the beginning. Yeah, he was at Temple. That's right. So yeah, I think that and started his career at Butler. I think that you'll see him have a significant impact. All right, so we are going to wrap. Last question. The ACC champs. It's going to be Duke or Carolina. I'll lean Duke for now, but it's going to be one of those two. Sorry, I can't pick one yet. All right, so going forward, we will certainly be doing these live streams throughout the course of the season. The AP Top 25 poll reaction, I've been told it'll be similar to last year where the women will be at noon, the men at 1 p.m. Eastern, and then we will be reacting to the men's poll right after that. So unless that changes, plan women at noon, men 1 o'clock going forward, beginning, I guess it would be November 11th would be the first one, because opening day, they're not going to have it November 4th. It wouldn't be different than what we're seeing right here. So anyway, appreciate all of your engagement. It's going to be a great year, very balanced. It's going to be stars across the country. I think we're going to have some great games. And check out Thursday night. I'm on the call for the Rutgers St. John's game on the Big Ten Network. First chance to see Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper, 6:30 Eastern time, in a charity that's going to benefit the V Foundation and Dick Vitale's Pediatric Cancer Fund that he has been working tirelessly for in the course of his career. So an incredible cause. Thursday night, 6:30 Eastern, Rutgers, St. John's at the Rack. Appreciate everyone. Check out all our coverage here on all our platforms, Bleacher Report, NCAA.com, March Madness men's basketball, and let's get ready for the season. Thanks, everyone.